Okay, so how many of you watch the top runners on TV in absolute awe? Yeah, they just glide over the ground and make it look nothing short of effortless. Some may say they have the perfect run form, but what makes it so perfect, so effortless, or so easy? Well, today I'm going to be tackling just that and exploring what we mean by the perfect run form. Well, getting out of the door and going for a run is a fairly straightforward affair. In fact, it's the simplicity of just whacking your running shoes on and getting out there is what makes running appeal to so many of us. That being said, being able to run with some proper run form, well, that's not quite as easy as it might sound, because our unique running mechanics are all dependent on things like our strength, our flexibility, and also how our bodies are built up. So with that, everyone has differing run form, but ultimately the goal is to run with as little effort as we can muster, as efficiently as possible, and crucially without getting injured. So in other words, the better our run form, the easier it's going to feel. And this perfect run form that I keep referring to can actually be broken down into a few key areas. And today I'm going to start with our upper body posture. Well, you might be listening to this now and thinking, what on earth is he on about? Upper body posture for running? Running comes from the legs. Well, you will be forgiven for thinking that. But the truth of the matter is, actually, perfect run form and technique should start from the top down. So I'm actually going to start by talking about our head alignment, because this is really key to our technique and form. You want to make sure that you're looking ahead towards the horizon. I actually start by saying try to look around 20 meters or so ahead of you, rather than either looking down at the ground in front of you or up above. Also, think about not pushing your head too far forwards. You actually want to make sure that your ears are nicely in line with your shoulders. And that leads me on, try and stay loose and relaxed with your shoulders. All too often we end up tensing up, even shrugging our shoulders up, and that's going to cost us and waste some very valuable energy. Now, I definitely fall foul to this very often, particularly as I get tired, and a tactic that I've learned is actually just to relax our arms down, shake them out, and try and get our shoulders and arms relaxed, and try and bring those arms back in, and hopefully with that, you have some nice relaxed shoulders. But talking about the arms, it's actually often forgotten that they're crucial in helping to propel our body forward. In fact, the way that we move our arms can either make us faster or it can slow us down. Now, we want to make sure that our elbows are nice and close to our side, not squeezing our sides, should be fairly relaxed. We also want to have our thumbs upwards rather than across or down or something like that. And then imagine a line down the middle of our body and our hand doesn't cross that line. Now, talking about our hands, again, this is an area that's often forgotten, but you really don't want to fall into the trap of tensing those hands up, particularly when you're doing a hard effort or when you're in the middle of a race. All that serves to do is waste more of that valuable energy and maybe even increase tension in the upper body or the arms. We're now moving on to our next key area, and this is our posture. Now, an all too often heard phrase is run tool or running tool, but what does this actually mean? Well, for many of us, we spend most of our day sat down, either at a desk, at the wheel of our car, or perhaps maybe for the luckiest out there, on the sofa. But regardless of what it is or why we do that, unfortunately, this can leave us with fairly rounded shoulders and flexed hips, which can transfer over into our running form, because by sitting in this position, it ends up with fairly tight hip flexors, which is then going to inhibit our ability to activate our glutes, and over time that's going to weaken those glutes because we're not activating them. Obviously, this is not ideal and certainly not going to work for our running and improving our run form. Now, something I've always worked on with my running form, and a way of countering this, is to imagine that I'm attached to some sort of pulley that's up in the sky somewhere, and that's pulling me upwards from my chest, and that is then going to open up my hips. Now, on that note, there was a simple drill that I found worked really well to kickstart that good posture, and I do a few times prior to a hard run session. I think about standing tall, hands on hips, eyes facing forwards to the horizon, and then rise up onto the balls of my feet, and then start to gradually fall forwards whilst focusing on maintaining that proper posture as I ran through the stride at a good pace. Well, my last drill there actually leads me very nicely onto our next big key area, and this is our landing mechanics. Now, with that last drill, we are very much utilizing gravity as we started to fall forwards, but a nice progression of that is the pose running method. Now, this is essentially the same. We're trying to align our shoulders, hips, knees and toes all together, and this time we're on one leg and we're momentarily balancing on one ball of our feet before we fall forward, using that gravity and then alternating as we go from leg to leg. And this is actually a method that's used by a lot of top level elite runners. But how that foot lands is a huge topic for debate. Forefoot, midfoot, or heel strike? Well, we tend to advise against heel striking, given that it can increase the amount of force and impact up through that limb. It can also create a bit of a braking force, particularly if that foot is landing out in front of us. And let's not forget, it can increase our contact time on the ground, given that we've got to roll through the entire foot rather than midfoot or forefoot, which is a lot quicker in terms of contact time. That being said, we do see all types within the elite running field: heel foot, midfoot, forefoot. But one thing that is similar and is consistent across all of them is where their foot lands. We'll see all of them with their foot landing under their center of gravity, which is going to enable that momentum carrying forwards, which again is very similar and aligns very nicely with the pose running method. Well, there we go. Perfect run form is a combination of good posture aligned in a linear fashion from our head to the balls of our feet. And actually a nice couple of cues for you to take away and use whilst you're out running is to think about running tall and the use of gravity, and that's going to really help to keep that momentum going, which I've been mentioning over and over again during this video. And it's not actually the world-class athletes that can only aspire to having perfect run form. Hopefully you guys out there can too. And if you have enjoyed today's video, hit that thumbs up button, and if you'd like to see more from GTN, you can click on the globe and subscribe. If you'd like to see our hill training video, you can see that by clicking just down here. If you'd like to see our 10K to half marathon video, you can see that by clicking just here.